everybody. Happy Wednesday evening. It is so great to be here with you, and thank you to OKclarity for having me do an Instagram live. I am super pumped to be here with you all, and I just realized that probably many of you are not in midlife. A lot of you are probably have parents who are in midlife. So I just realized that you may not be in midlife, but maybe your parents are. So I want to say hi to everybody. If you are here, say hi, check in with me, let me know where you're watching from. I would love to, have some conversation with you guys. If you have questions about midlife, I'm going to talk about it, like what it means, how to cope with a midlife crisis, all that good stuff. But a little bit about me. I'm seeing some people join. So hey there, how are you? Let me know where you are watching from. My name is Lisa Mustard, and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist in South Carolina, and I am also a life coach. And I am new to the OKclarity family. I joined the directory just a few weeks back, but I'm so excited to be here. I also am a podcaster. I have a podcast called The Therapy Show with Lisa Mustard, so I would love it if you would give me a follow. I'll give you a follow back if that's something that you would like. And it's just so great to be here. So, okay, let's talk about what is a midlife crisis. And like I said, if you're not in midlife, but maybe your parents are, be sure to save this live when it's a video and maybe show it to them later on, because I think that this is some really good information. And midlife crisis or crises can happen as early as your mid-30s. So just because you're not 40 or 50 or above doesn't mean that you can't, have some midlife issues. Just so you guys know, I just turned 50 a few months back, and I had a midlife crisis when I was about 40. And I'll share a little bit more with you to give you some context as to how I kind of came into working within the realm of midlife issues. But what is a midlife crisis? I have my notes here, so if you see me looking down, that's what I'm doing. So it's a period of emotional turmoil in middle age characterized by a strong desire for change. And there's misconceptions about what a midlife crisis looks like or what it is. It's not just wanting to buy a sports car or, having a fling with somebody much younger than you. It's actually it's a deeper emotional and psychological experience that can come in many different forms for different people. And when I turned 40, I would say that what I was going through was a midlife crisis. And at 40, I was doing great in my career. I had 2 kids. My marriage was going really well. But internally, I just felt like the only way I can describe it is I felt like meh. I just felt meh. And in my skin, I felt kind of, just kind of mediocre. I didn't feel so, everything was good, but I just felt like I had more in me that I wanted to experience and get out there and try new things. But I felt like I was kind of at 40, is it too late for me? Should I have done these things earlier? Did I miss out on something? So I was going through that emotional and psychological experience of some type of inner turmoil. And what I did at that point in my life was I actually hired a life coach, and I am a therapist and I hired a life coach. Why would a therapist hire a life coach? Well, the only thing I can tell you is that for me, I've been to therapy. I am a therapist. I know that the stuff that from my past, I've processed that so many times in therapy. I really wanted to focus on the here and now, and I really wanted to make a plan for moving forward. So I had heard great things about this life coach. I hired him, and man, we just jumped right into it. We made a plan. We kind of I started to understand why I was going through what I was going through. And I'm going to share with you how I handle a midlife crisis and how I help other people cope or deal or move through it as well. But let's talk a little bit about why you might have a midlife crisis. For some people, it comes from the realization that we are mortals and that eventually we will pass away and we will not be of this planet anymore. And when you are in your late 30s or 40s, all of a sudden you have that realization oh my gosh, I'm halfway to the age of my grandparents, or I'm halfway to, the age of my great aunt or great uncle, and that's not that far away from me. So we have that realization, and we get a little, whatever inside, and that can be kind of, this it's right there looking at you. We might have regrets about decisions that we made in our past. maybe we're upset, or we regret not taking a certain job, or we regret not going on a trip, or I mean, it could be anything, just regrets about our past, maybe relationships, friendships that had kind of, they had dwindled or they had ended, and you have regrets about those things. Or maybe you actually have fear of the future, things that you are worried you may not get to accomplish at this point in your life. So it can kind of stem from a couple different things. It's going to be different for everybody. There's no right or wrong way to actually have one, okay? Sometimes if you have a health scare, or maybe your kids are leaving home, or that you maybe a death of a parent, a lot of those things can also spark that introspection that can come up for us in our late 30s to, I'm 50, so I'm going to put that at 50. We can have feelings of regret, sadness, anxiety, symptoms of depression, or the desire to achieve something significant before it's too late. And I think that's what I was going through at 40. Like I said, I had kind of reached the ceiling of my job. My marriage was good. My kids were good. I just felt like I had more in me to do and to experience, but I wasn't quite sure what that was. And so I got really curious, and I started to work with the life coach. So how do you work through it? Well, first of all, I think it's really important to identify what's triggering the crisis. So I would want you to, maybe do some reflective work. If you guys are here, be sure to say hi. I would love to get some comments, and let me know where you're watching from. Did I tell you I live in South Carolina? So let me know where you're watching from as you hop on. And if you have questions, feel free to ask them, and I will do my best to answer them, okay? And if you're watching this after that it's live, and if you want to send me a DM, you can do that. My handle on Instagram is Lisa Mustard Podcaster. You can just reach out to me there, and I will get back to you. So if you have questions that I don't answer, you can also leave them in the comments, and I will answer them as best I can. So one of the things is you're going to journal. I like journaling, be self-reflective. I like talking. I always recommend talking to somebody. Therapists can make great coaches. Coaches do not make therapists. Completely different things. Like I said, I am a therapist and I'm a coach. But therapists are primed to be coaches. If that's something that you need and you want to have more of a coaching relationship where it's more action oriented, then you can definitely have that conversation with your therapist. But journaling, reflective work, finding time to just kind of sit and think about what is going on and what is going on underneath that you're starting to have this turmoil or these feelings of these deeper psychological feelings that maybe you weren't expecting when you turned 40 or 35 or whatever age that you are. And one of the things that I like to do with my clients is when they're going through this kind of emotional turmoil and they're not sure which direction they want to go, we're going to talk a lot about values, and we're going to get really, really clear on your values, because sometimes what happens is there's a disconnect between the life that we want or the life that we claim that we're living and then and how we're actually showing up in our lives. So for example, when I was doing this discovery work, I always said that family first or family focus is my number one priority, my number one value. But how was I showing up in that value? I realized that what I was doing was I was kind of avoiding maybe doing some more one-on-one time with each of my kids. I was avoiding being present for them. And how was I doing that? Well, I was doing what a lot of people do. I was on my phone. I wasn't putting my phone away when I was with them. And so that was one of the things that was really important to me. I say that, family is important, but how am I showing up in that value? Another thing that's really important to me, that I wasn't really living my highest value and there was more disconnect was being healthy. And I was doing all the things. I was, working out. I was going through the motions of my exercise, but I didn't really have intention behind it. And so I would cut corners. I would say my value was optimal and vibrant health, but I wasn't actually living that out. So I had to get really clear on that value. So once again, my midlife crisis was because my values I was not being congruent and living an authentic life at that point when I was going through my midlife crisis. And going back to family, at that time I live in a different state than my parents. So not being close to my parents, I said that family was important, but how was I showing up as being a daughter? How was I showing up as being a sister? So as you can see, a midlife crisis is all about the emotional turmoil, and then it's about how do you want to move forward through it. And when you get clear on your highest values, then, and you start to make a plan for living them out, you can then be authentic and congruent in living out a more healthy and vibrant midlife. So that's how I like to work with people and how I help people deal with a midlife crisis. There's other things that could happen for people who are going through a midlife crisis. Like they could be having dissatisfaction with their career. Maybe you want to find more meaningful work, or you regret, missed opportunities. As one example, maybe you have a desire to move, or you have a desire to travel, or you want to have a completely different routine. So that could be something that's you're experiencing as you kind of go through a midlife crisis. Sometimes we are going to purchase things that represent a desire for times, past that are going to give us more of like a youthfulness or sense of achievement. So, you've probably, the one that always comes to mind is like the guy that goes and buys the sports car when he's 50 and, he's trying to like live a younger lifestyle and it just doesn't fit, right? And like it's in the movies and stuff. But, sometimes we do things like that. Women, not so much maybe in the Orthodox Jewish community, but in other communities, women are going to maybe look at doing some type of work on themselves. And when I say that, I mean like, injections and fillers, and just because they don't want to look their age, or they think that, looking younger is more desirable than actually aging gracefully and moving into midlife with authenticity and congruency. So, there's a lot of things that can happen when it comes to midlife. And I feel like I'm kind of going over a bunch of things right now. So if you have questions or you want more information, like I said, feel free to ask below or send me a DM. So how do you handle it? Like, what does it come down to? Well, I think it really comes down to self-reflection, being aware, doing the journaling, working with a coach or a therapist, really identifying your highest values, and are you living them out congruently and authentically? If you have a desire to do more, if you have a desire to, and this is what I did at 40, I felt really, like I said, meh, like it just, what else is out there? I felt like I had done all the therapy work. I felt like I had, been in that career long enough. I felt like I could do it with my eyes closed to a degree. I just wasn't challenged by it anymore. So I thought, well, one of the things for me that one of my other values is lifetime learning. So what did I do? I went and developed a new skill. I decided to start a podcast. So in my 40s, not only did I go through like a midlife crisis, I also started a podcast and I learned something new, and I challenged myself, constantly learning about, having a podcast and, growing a business and, just pivoting myself just a little bit, just enough so I could be challenged and try new things. That's how I handle my midlife crisis. You can set new goals. You can pursue health goals. You can reconnect maybe with passions that you had when you were younger. Maybe it was music or art. But those are the things that if you value them, then you need to get back to them. And so that's pretty much my Instagram live for the evening. If you guys have questions, I would love to connect with you. So feel free to message me if you want to learn more. If you want a free consultation, just head over to the OKclarity site and look for me, Lisa Mustard. You can't forget that last name, right? Mustard, like you put on a hot dog. That's what we say here in my family. But I hope you guys found this helpful. And like I said, when I started that, I know a lot of you are not midlife, right? Maybe your parents are in midlife. So feel free to save this video and show it to your parents, because they might want to explore some stuff that's going on for them in midlife. But midlife crises are common. They're normal. They're they're an evolution of you, of who you are and who you are becoming. And so I encourage you that if you are going through a midlife crisis, to stay curious, to stay open. Don't beat yourself up. If you are feeling a certain way, if you're feeling some type of turmoil, there is hope. You're gonna get through this. You just have to find the right support. So maybe that is me. All right, y'all. Well, I hope you found some value in this. I hope you found it helpful. Be sure to give it a like, share it to your Instagram feed or into your stories. We would always appreciate it. I'm going to turn this off. I don't know if I'm going to do it right, but you guys have a great Wednesday. And if you want me to come back and talk about something else, then let me know. All right. Y'all take care. Talk to you later. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.